Hey everyone, you're doing well today. I'm just checking to make sure the stream is working. All right, appears to be working. Now I'll have to check the screen share too, but I hope you're doing well. I just took a brisk walk in the rain, listening to focus music and chatting with ChatGPT about my 10-year vision, which is really quite exciting and exhilarating. And that's a little bit of what I hope to share with you. So, your next steps to success, that's the program that I'm launching starting in December for just four motivated visionaries who want to transform their lives in 2025. We're going to envision and define success in December and begin to pursue and enact those steps in January so you can hit the ground running and make 2025 your most successful year yet, which is what I intend to do as well. So just a reminder, the early bird discount expires this Friday. So you have just a couple more days to take advantage of that. And there you can pay in one payment or three installments. And I'll have a link to that here. So what I wanted to do today and over the next couple days is a series of live videos like this one that show you a little bit about my thinking and how I guide visionaries and coach leaders to envision more and to achieve more and to make their lives considerably more purposeful because that's what I notice always happens. So I'm going to show you my signature framework today, or I'm going to kind of reveal it in three days. It's called the metaphysics of leadership and creation. So metaphysics is an old word that means the structure of reality or the study of the structure of reality. It's a branch of philosophy. It's still a thing for sure, although it's largely been supplanted by science. But there's a lot about the human spirit and human motivation that I consider to be a metaphysical discussion. And so that's the level at which I work, at least primarily until the strategy gets set. But let's dive in. We're going to do a guided tour of reality today. And again, this is the thinking that guides my coaching and my consulting. And so this is what is going to guide our work in your next steps to success or YNS to us. Yes, want to make sure this works. All right, there it is. Yeah, so the metaphysics of leadership and creation. And to me, it's hard to distinguish between leadership and creation because when you're leading, you're creating, and when you're creating, you're taking leadership actions. So, there I can go deep into that. I can go deep into pretty much everything I say. But when I look at reality and when I look at how humans fit into reality, at least the way it seems to me, this is the way that I diagram it. And it's kind of a flow chart. You're going to see arrows moving in different ways because reality flows. Things are moving from one place to another constantly. That's really what reality is, kind of at a fundamental level. Philosophers like Heraclitus a long time ago and Deleuze more recently knew this. They were like, oh, yeah, things are flowing from one place to another. So when we think about what we want to create and what we want to lead, it's often a question of actually, I mean, it's fundamentally and actually inevitably a question of what is flowing to where and what flow is being blocked and how do we release those blocks. So this is what it looks like. All right, so there it is. That's the metaphysics of leadership and creation. And we're going to unpack this over the course of 3 days. And this is essentially what's going to guide the thinking and the work in your next steps to success starting in December. So the central element here, this is the part I came up with first. It's called the five realms. It's I break reality down into sort of five realms. Then this part over here, this is the spheres of leadership influence, beginning with the self. This is where we meet reality. And then this is how we engage with purpose. It's our subjective experience. And then this part right over here, this is the 8 steps to bridge purpose to action, the action that we're taking in the present moment. And I believe all behavior is guided by this, but especially all leadership. Like when we become intentional about what we want to create, it always comes down to these 8 steps. I have quite a bit of content about all this already. You can find it on my podcast, on my YouTube channel, which is growing pretty rapidly. But but yeah, I'm gonna lay it out here, sort of in yet another way. So today we're going to talk about this central part, the 5 realms. I can talk about this for 2 hours. I can unpack this for 2 hours, but today I'm going to try to do it in 5 to 10 minutes. So let's look at that. So before we go there, the 5 realms are motion on the bottom, life, action, strategy, and purpose. And when we talk about the journey of the individual, like this is, we're all embedded in this. And so it's helpful to see all of this operating in our lives so that we can become aware and in that process become intentional about changing what we do and the results that we get. So let's unpack them. At the bottom, fundamentally, we have the realm of motion. So motion is simply a way of saying existence because everything is moving. Even at the subatomic level, even things that appear to be inanimate are moving. You have electrons whizzing around nuclei. You have particles moving all over the place. And of course, we're in motion. We move all the time, really. Like we're never not in motion. But even before things were alive, things were in motion. So this is really just a way of saying that existence exists, and this is one of those sort of ancient riddles where it's like you can't say existence verbs, because existence sort of just is. And this is sort of a page out of Parmenides. It's very interesting to contemplate. But really at a fundamental level, things exist. We're a part of that. They've existed for a long time. Estimates vary as to whether it's billions of years or thousands of years. But this model can subsume all of that and find meaning and purpose for the individual. So the realm of motion, we're all in the realm of motion, right? Everything that exists is in the realm of motion. So the next realm is the realm of life. So some of that motion did something very miraculous, it seems to us, right? And it kind of took on this self-contained quality, right? It sort of, put boundaries around itself and created a sense of potential that it grows into. This is Aristotle, by the way, that I'm referring to. He was a biologist, and so he was fascinated by this idea of change and growth and reaching potential. And that's what living organisms do. It's what distinguishes them from non-living organisms, right? We don't say a galaxy has potential; it just sort of does what it does. We don't say a mountain has potential, even though they may move and change over time. There's something about life that's very special. It has this self-contained quality with all these processes that guide its development and seem to drive it in a unique way that we don't find anywhere else. So we are in the realm of life also, right? And we have to honor that. We have to take care of our bodies. We have to nourish and get enough sleep. And there's all these needs our bodies have. And there's like that's a major part of why society looks the way it does is to honor our processes of life and life sustaining of life, right? It's also very much related to agriculture, right? Because I guess what everything that lives needs something else that lives. That must not be true, because at a certain point something became alive that didn't need other things to be alive. But most living things need something else to be alive, right? So we're in the realm of life, along with all the other animals and plants. The central realm right here, that's the realm of action. And this is, like the major mindset shift happens here. It happened here for me as well, when I contemplated this model. Action is distinct from life. And it's like as a shorthand, we can talk about the way that animals behave or the way that animals experience their life, right? Because animals, we're pretty sure have this thing called consciousness, and it seems less certain that plants have consciousness. I know that's debated right now, but animals, it seems certain have some sort of consciousness. There seem to be different levels of that, right? It's like our consciousness is different than an ant's consciousness, right? Um, but there's this sense of experiencing the present moment, right? That's sort of what our consciousness does now. Philosophers debate this. I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about how we don't really sense the present moment. We sense the moment that just passed. And that's what registers for us. But still, when I talk about the present moment, we know what that means, right? So I would say what distinguishes animals, insects from plants is the sense of the present moment. And since we have this sense of the present moment, when we have this at least a sense of volition and will, even if we may not have free will, that's another debate. We seem to have this ability to choose the action that we take, right? Now, this is true of all the animals that we know, in addition to us, right? And so there's other layers to human experience that distinguish us from other animals because it seems that all animals have this volition and will that can guide our actions, and this very responsive quality to the present moment and stimuli in the present moment in a way that most plants don't have. So what is it that sets humanists apart? What is it that allows us to examine that action and change it, right? Or, adapt it or guide it in certain directions. Well, that's the next realm. So, first of all, let me tell you about the two central insights of action. One is the central insight, one is the corollary. I find the corollary more interesting, actually. So, the central insight of the realm of action is that we are taking actions all the time. Okay, so plants are growing all the time, but not taking actions like animals and people are, right? We're taking actions every moment. You're taking an action right now. You're listening to me, right? And then you're going to go do something else, and you have to figure out what that is, right? So that's what human life is. It's a series of actions, one after another. We're always doing something, we're always in a location. So there's some framework by which we're making that choice, right? About where to be. Now, here's the corollary, and this one actually was more deeply effective for me. It's that once we recognize that we're taking actions all the time, we also realize we can't stop taking actions. For a long, long time, I really wished that I could just stop life. And, there's a musical called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. It doesn't mean the world, it's not like, it doesn't mean literally stop the globe and I'm going to step off. It means I want to stop existing. I want to stop reality. But, as humans, we can't do that, right? So not only are we taking actions all the time, but we're sort of confined into taking actions all the time. We can't get away from ourselves and we can't get away from this, this pressing condition of needing to take the next action. So it's like, as long as we're taking actions anyway, we may as well consider what are they adding up to? What are they pointing to? What are they all aligning toward? And as soon as we start asking questions like that and asking, well, how do I align them in the same direction and become more productive? And that's a word that, we could spend a lot of time defining. But the moment we start to examine that and think in that way, we enter this next realm, which is strategy. So strategy happens when we seek to align our actions in the same direction. Animals have strategies too, as do plants. Uh, Evolutionary biologists tell us that they are sort of packed in, right? Sort of baked into genetics and evolutionary history. That's also true of us humans, right? There are certain things that drive us that we're not aware of, and that we have a hard time breaking free of. But the thing that's really interesting and special about humans is that we can create new strategies over and over and over again. And anytime we innovate, anytime we create new technology, anytime we create new social structures, new economic structures, new ways to order society, we are innovating new strategies. And that's why we have this sense of what we call progress in humankind that other creatures do not have. Because while they evolve and they change, right, which are, these lower levels here, if we find a cow 500 years ago, or, a herd of cows, and we compare them to the herd of cows we find now, they're not that different. Now, of course, they may have been bred, but, that's a human strategy, right? That's imposed on them. But human life, it's like if you look at a civilization 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, and you compare it to a civilization now, they are very different. Why? Because the strategies change. We have a way of changing our strategies to meet new ends. So we're taking actions all the time. We can't help but to take actions all the time. And when we want to make those actions more fruitful, more productive, however we define that, we enter the realm of strategy and we think about how to do that. And this is where a lot of coaches, consultants stop, I notice. They say, I have a strategy for X, Y, and Z. But I think what I really like to do happens in the next realm. And I think what people find really, really magical about a conversation with me is that we don't stop at strategy, because if you just stay in strategy, it has this arbitrary quality. And I think there's this subliminal question of, well, why am I executing this strategy anyway? And this is, I think, a lot of what happens in school. We go to school and we learn things. We learn strategies for all sorts of things, but they feel cold and arbitrary and detached from reality because they lack what? This final realm, which is purpose. And purpose is this beautiful, expansive, broad, hallowed realm. I would even call it sacred. I think this is where the sacred vision of humanity is housed. So when we recognize that we're taking actions all the time and we cannot stop, and when we recognize beyond that that it is a strategy that aligns our actions in a common direction, and then we ask, but how do we even know what strategy to pursue? We enter that final realm, which is the realm of purpose, and it's it's grand, it's broad, it practically has this infinite feeling. It's also very mysterious and playful and paradoxical because there's an awful lot of things that humans find meaningful that contradict one another. So, for example, we like to be stable, but we also like change sometimes, right? So, how do we know how to balance those? Um, we like security and we like feeling good, but we also enjoy pain on a certain level, right? Because we get really attached to these stories of pain and we love telling our stories of pain, but we also recoil from them in a certain way, right? So these are the paradoxes that we see in the realm of purpose, right? We enjoy our freedom, but we hate being overwhelmed by freedom, right? We like we like sort of a stasis, but what we also know that we need to like keep creating progress for future generations so that they have work to do just like we do, right? So these are all things that we find in the realm of purpose, and every human discipline has this paradox running through it. But this is where vision comes from, is this final realm that I call purpose. And when we tap into that and we dwell in the mystery and the paradoxes of life, then the strategies that come from that are um, really just very clear. And they're strategies that you don't see unless you make that final leap into the realm of purpose. Because once our vision clarifies, the strategy becomes a relatively simple and straightforward manner. But we don't find that unless we go to the realm of purpose. Then we're just looking around and looking at other people's strategies and saying, okay, well, what have other people done? Maybe I should try that. But it's the realm of purpose that really infuses our vision with innovation and really asks what ought the strategy to be anyway. What is the wound that I want to heal for people? What is the problem I want to solve? What is the way that I want to elevate and look to the future? That's what happens in the realm of purpose. And um, it's my favorite place to spend time and guide people. And that's what you're going to find in your next steps to success. If this is resonating with you, come and spend a couple months with me in the realm of purpose, and you will not believe what your life looks like on the other side of that. So, those are the five realms of existence. That was the guided tour of reality. We're going to continue tomorrow with this part over here, which is the five realms of leadership influence, the two rations, and the misalignment with the ideal, which is really what reveals purpose to us. So this is the journey of the individual. So we're gonna jump in there tomorrow, and then on Thursday we're going to uh, visit these 8 steps. And I'm in the midst of releasing a series of podcasts about these 8 steps right now in my podcast, A Higher Level. But these are the steps by which we bridge the realms of purpose and strategy, and then strategy and action. So, again, if that's compelling to you, if that's interesting, if that's thinking that you would like to spend more time with, you and just a very select group of motivated visionaries in December and January, and see what results in your life, then I highly encourage you to check out Your Next Steps to Success, YNS2S. It's a limit of just 4. We're going to start in December, and the early bird discount expires this Friday. So if this is speaking to you, don't hesitate. Jump in, join me. And you can pay in one payment or an installment plan of 3. And those are subject to the early bird discount too. So go check it out. I will leave a link to register here, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope you are thinking differently. Yeah, I mean, I love breaking down that model because like that is how reality looks to me, like that's sort of what I see everywhere. So yeah, if you'd like to get closer to that, spend time with that, then join me for your next steps to success. So feel free to reach out with any questions. And thanks so much for listening.